Yo koso wa shitare. Welcome. In today's story, we're going to learn why it's very important that if you're suddenly caught out in a storm that comes out of the blue, that you need to be very careful because there may be something hiding in the dark clouds that you don't want to see. But let's not even waste any more time. I just want to get right into it, okay? So, once upon a time, ima wa mukashi. In the reign of some emperor we don't know because the original source is either missing the characters for his name or it's damaged somehow, we don't know. But whoever the emperor was, he was doing his normal thing at the imperial palace. And it was summer, and so it was very hot. And while our story doesn't have anything to do with the emperor himself, it centers entirely around the guardsmen. The takiguchi is what they're called. And they are palace guards. Now, in order to understand this next part, we need to go over a little bit of the positioning and the setup of the imperial palace in the capital of Heian at the time. So, the palace was composed of two parts, an outer and an inner. The outer part contained the actual palace where the emperor resided / people came to see him and discuss things of state. But then there was the outer palace. And the outer palace contained the gardens for the imperial palace. It also had a bunch of other buildings and administrative offices for other men of state, other noblemen, and other people with important jobs to be close to the emperor, but not actually be in with the emperor and have their own separate place that was close, but not actually part of the imperial building. Now, our takiguchi, our palace guards, normally they were on duty in the inner palace. They were there to make sure that no wretched rapscallions ever did anything in the actual inner palace. That was their job. But it just so happened that they were on break, I guess you could say. And it was hot. So they were trying desperately to figure out how to cool themselves off. So they were not in the inner palace at the time. They were in one of the buildings in the outer palace, in the complex. Specifically, the building is called the Hassho. And specifically in the Hassho, they were in one of the hallways. I guess because the hallways are open, so there's more airflow, but there's still some shade. So they're trying to cool off a little bit, and it's their break time, and they are very bored. They are so bored. And while they're sitting around trying to beat the heat with nothing else to do, nobody can come up with any ideas, one of them suddenly says nonchalantly without thinking about it, "Oh man, it would be nice if I sent off one of my guys to go get some booze and some treats." And he didn't mean anything by this. He was just kind of thinking out loud. But all of his bros, all of his friends, all of the other guardsmen heard him say this, and they instantly jumped on that. They said, "Bro, do it. Yeah, that sounds amazing. Please, please send somebody. We could really use some drinks, some treats, something to just get rid of the monotony of being off the clock right now." But the guy who first came up with the idea, after being assaulted verbally by all of these other guys who were just pushing him really hard, yes, send somebody to go get some drink and some food, he said, okay, fine. So he got one of his servants, one of his followers, his retainers, he gave him a torch, and he gave him instructions. Go get some booze, go get some treats, bring it back here so we can all have a good time. And sure enough, this man runs off down south to go fulfill the order. Now, after he was gone for a little bit, just at that point where all the other takiguchi, where all the other guardsmen were sitting there thinking, yeah, he's probably gone around 10 blocks or so at this point, probably getting close to where he's going to be picking the goods up, suddenly, everything went dark. The wind blew in a storm out of nowhere, and it just started raining and thundering like crazy. And it turns out that the Japanese have a word for this, yu-dachi. Yu means evening, and dachi means to stand, or in a more abstract sense, to kind of arise, to be present. So this was a kind of atmospheric phenomenon where suddenly, in summer evenings, storms would pop up out of nowhere, and it would rain really hard, and then it would go away. But this yu-dachi comes, rains a bunch, and is gone within, probably maybe 20 minutes or something, probably nothing crazy long, but just it's a normal thing that happens and nobody really thinks anything of it. And right after the storm clears is when all of the other guardsmen starts thinking that maybe that guy that they sent, he should probably be back at any minute now. He's gone far enough, he should be able to have gotten the goods and bring them back, and we should be seeing him any second, should be coming right around the corner. But time went on, and time went on, and time went on, and they saw no sign of this guy. And so now they're starting to get really annoyed, like, dude, what is he doing? Is he stopping to smell the roses? We gave him one job, and apparently he can't even do that. And the stickler of it is that they didn't have all day because they had to get back to work at some point. And sure enough, the time for them to end their break, I don't know how long their break was, but their break time is over, and they have to go back to work without booze. And so they all start muttering to themselves like, oh my, seriously, dude? Like, what are you doing? This is so dumb, bro. You had one job. We couldn't trust you with this one thing. So they're muttering to themselves, complaining about this guy, but they have no choice. They have to go back to work. However, more time passes, and they still don't see this guy that they sent to go get treats. And it's getting dark, not because it's stormy, but because the sun is actually starting to go down. And after the sun goes down and they still do not see him, now they're starting to actually get worried. And they start talking to themselves, man, this is really strange. Something must have happened to him. Did he die? Did something get him while he was on the way to get the goods? Did he suddenly get struck with an illness? Like, what happened? Nobody knows. But unfortunately, again, they're on the clock. So they have no choice but to continue working through the night because that was their job, as they worked at night. I mean, that's the best time to have guards. So the whole time while they're on duty, they're just so worried about their friend, this other guardsman that they sent out on this errand. But sure enough, the hours pass. And just before dawn, while it's still really, really early morning, they decide, or maybe one of them, one of the things about Japanese language is it doesn't distinguish between singular and plural. So it could be one guy, it could be multiple guys. I'm just going to assume that it's one guy. But one guy decides that right as soon as he's done with work, and in the wee hours of the morning, he's going to go to the errand boy's house and check and make sure that he's there. Maybe ask his family members, do you know where he might have gone? Have you seen him? Anything like that. So he arrives at the house, knocks on the door, or I don't know if he knocks or announces his presence or whatever, but he meets somebody and he starts explaining the situation. Well, we sent him out to go get some treats and he didn't show up. All night he didn't show up to work. And so we're just concerned that something has happened to him. Have you seen him? One of the people of the house said, oh yeah, actually, he showed up yesterday and he's here. However, he was in terrible shape when he got here and he's currently laying down in the other room and it's like he's dead. He's completely comatose and we're really worried about it. And so they let this querying guardsman in to go see the errand boy, and sure enough, he's just laying there completely unresponsive to anything. He tries asking him something, he tries saying words to him, they shake him a little bit, nothing, absolutely nothing. And now things are just even weirder. Like, it would make sense if he got attacked on the road and we found his body riddled with arrows, but no. And he doesn't have any other symptoms of being sick, he's just comatose, he's out. So not knowing what else to do, this guardsman decides that there's actually a famous doctor who's not far away by the name of Tadaaki no Ason. Ason is like it's a government post of some sort. It's an official, but this guy was a pretty high-ranking nobleman, but he also happened to be a doctor, a very knowledgeable doctor at that, as you will see. So he comes to this Tadaaki, and he tells him, hey, so this is what happened. We sent him off to go get some treats. He didn't show up. I went to his house, and he's just flat on his back, completely out of it, completely comatose. And after hearing this, Tadaaki simply goes, yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not sure, but I have a hunch. What you need to do is you need to get a bunch of ash. And the text does specifically specify what kind of ash it is, but unfortunately the one character that explains what kind of ash it is missing, because again, it's a very old text, so some of the characters are either illegible or just missing completely. So go get this ash and bury the guy in it. Just completely cover him head to toe in this ash and wait for a short while. Wait for a few hours and see what happens. And you know, if I were this guardsman, like, excuse me? You want us to bury him completely in ash? Are you on something, bro? What kind of a treatment is that? But, you know, who is a guardsman going to be to argue with, like, a professional in this, you know? It may not make sense, but might as well give it a shot. So that's exactly what they do. Is he returns back, he gathers a bunch of this ash, buries the guy in it, and then he and all of the other people of the house just sit there waiting. And they're all probably thinking this is really crazy, but I mean, the whole situation is crazy. So maybe crazy problems need crazy solutions. I don't know. But sure enough, after maybe 2 hours, well, the text says 1 to 2 hours, but in our measurement, it would be more like 2 to 3 or maybe 2 to 4, something around there. Suddenly, this big pile of ash starts moving. And of course, everybody in the house realizes that this guy is now conscious, so they immediately go over, they uncover all the ash from this guy, and sure enough, he's awake, and he's moving. He's still not totally there, though. Obviously, he's still recovering. So they sit him up gently, they get him some water, and they give him some time, give him some space and some air to resituate himself. And as soon as he's at a point where he's actually fully conscious and pretty much there, they ask him, so, dude, what happened? I mean, we sent you off to go get treats, and here you are, comatose. at your own house. What happened, bro? Well, and he takes a minute again to compose himself, and he starts telling them this story. Well, just like you know, I set off to go get these treats, and as I was going along the road next to the Shinsen building, Shinsen is a building in the capital, I don't know exactly where it is, but as I was going next to the Shinsen building, suddenly it grew dark. And from the west, I started hearing thunder and lightning, and it started raining. With a yudachi. A yudachi came out of nowhere. Everywhere that wasn't west was lit and I could see, but in the west, it was dark with storm clouds. But as I was taking a minute to look around and see what was going on, I happened to look in the darkness. And while I was staring at the darkness, suddenly I saw a golden flash of light and what looked like a hand in this golden light. And as soon as I saw that hand, suddenly everything around me went dark. I couldn't see, at least not very well, and my head got all dizzy, and I got disoriented. I felt like I was gonna pass out, but I couldn't just fall down in the middle of the road and just lay there. So I took everything that I had in me and I managed to drag myself back home, and that's all I remember. And even that I don't remember very well. It's all hazy. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but that's my story. And so the guardsman who went out to find this guy is now just dumbstruck. What? You saw a golden hand in the storm clouds? And that made you pass out? What? That makes no sense. But it is what it is. He had no reason to disbelieve this guy, and the whole thing was already very unusual, so wouldn't an unusual cause lead to an unusual result? But this guardsman wasn't happy with just that explanation. He wanted to know more. And so he hit on the idea, well, clearly, this Tadaaki knew how to treat this guy, so maybe he knew what was going on. So he went back to this Tadaaki, and he explained the whole situation. He's like, yeah, this is what happened. This is what the guy says he saw. He saw a golden hand in the storm, and he passed out. And Tadaaki, the first thing he does when he hears this is he laughs. He laughs a big, uproarious laugh. And he goes, yep, that's exactly what it is. Indeed, I knew it. Because you see, my good guardsman friend, it is very common for people to go comatose when they happen, by chance, to lay eyes on a dragon. Now, to a lot of us Westerners, this might not make a lot of sense. Wait, why would there be a dragon in a storm cloud? But Eastern dragons are not like Western dragons. They are not associated with fire and destruction. They are spirits of storm and water. They control rivers. They live in the sea. They live in lakes. And because they can fly, they are very, very oftentimes related to storms. In fact, the word in Japanese for a tornado is a tatsumaki. Tatsu meaning dragon, and maki meaning a wrap or a roll. So the idea was that if you had a dragon that's spinning around, it becomes a tornado. Because again, dragons are associated with storms. So after hearing this, the original guardsman is, again, absolutely dumbfounded. But now he's got a story that he has to go back and tell everybody. So he runs back to work, and he tells all the other guardsmen everything that happened. How he found this guy at home completely comatose. He went to Tadaaki, got the prescription to bury him in ash when the guy woke up, and retells that story of the guy seeing a dragon. Like, whoa, a dragon. How many people actually get to see that? And after hearing all of this, all of the other guardsmen, they were also very, very impressed by Tadaaki and his knowledge of the situation, because how many people get struck comatose by witnessing a dragon? That's not something that happens every day. It's not something that happens once every year. That is such a rare occurrence, and for Tadaaki to be able to know not only that this happens, but what to do in this situation just shows that he was an amazing doctor. Very wise man. And thus is it said that the doctor, Tadaaki no Ason, was indeed a very, very noble doctor. Okay, I really like that story. I mean, who doesn't like dragons? Dragons are great. But that is the end of the story, and I appreciate your viewership. I appreciate the support. If you enjoyed this story, you want to hear more traditional Japanese folk tales, please subscribe to the channel. Or if you like just this video, please feel free to like it as well. I have nothing in the way of commentary, so hopefully we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.